Good morning. Nice of you guys to drop by.
What a piece of junk. What are you talking about?
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Look, don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. Trust me.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. Don't get technical with me.
This bickering is pointless.
Don't everybody thank me at once.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
How could you even say that?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Well, come on.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Would you get going, you pirate?
Get in there, you big furry-o! I don't care what you smell!
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
If what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust.
I like the sound of that.
Get a shuttle ready.
I don't know. Fly casual.
Shuttle Tydirium, what is your cargo and destination?
Transmission commencing.
Hey everybody, thanks again for joining us in the friendly skies here at Shuttle Tydirium Podcast. We are the mothership of Casual X-Wing. I am your host and pilot, James Chadwick, also known as Hey Chadwick on the forums. And sitting next to me, I have Baba Ganush, also known as Phil. He is our co-pilot. How you doing, Phil?
Hey, how's it going? I'd like to invite all of our flyers, our passengers, to take part in some in-flight shopping during their the flight tonight. You can ask for a catalog from the cabin crew protocol droid, and make sure to ask about our rewards card. We actually have a sale on a variety of shag carpet style furniture that we recently imported from Endor. So make sure you check those out.
Right. I think they've all been fully cleaned of bloodstains as well.
Yeah, no bloodstains this time.
We also have over here J-Bot, our cranky protocol droid. How you doing, J-Bot?
I'm doing good. We have plenty of inventory, so just come on down. Order when you're ready. Our callers and whatever they're called are standing by.
Don't you take special orders too?
Oh, we can definitely do customizable stuff. Whatever you need. J-Bot's here to serve.
A nice shag ottoman, yes.
Don't get shag. No, I only work in shag.
Now, also, you guys might be surprised, but over here we've got a special guest tonight. Over here we have R3 astromech. Say hello, R3. Say hello.
Now, is it true that it's just R3 and not anything else?
Yes, actually, this one is the generic model. He is actually the floor model. So
okay.
He is actually generic. The R3 astromech. He's the base template.
Yeah,
awesome.
Generic for a reason.
Well, I'm glad to have him aboard.
Right, he's going to help us talk with our special subject tonight, because we've got a bunch of news from FFG, and we were going to go over some of it. But first, I'd like to go with a captain's question. It's something a little odd and abstract, but what is your guys' favorite action in X-Wing?
Okay, it's an interesting question. I can go first. Maybe I'm going to steal J-Bot's answer. I don't know. I tend to do that. But I actually like the target lock action. I like that action because it's one of the few actions that's has a permanence to it. So target lock sticks around even if you don't use it, which is nice because you can do things like if you know you're not going to have a shot on somebody that turn and they're not going to be shooting at you, then picking up a target lock is nice. Put that in your pocket, gives you a lot more power later on. But it's not like a easy to use ability either, because it only works against one target, and it's only good on the offense as opposed to focus, which is equally good on the defense.
You know what I found with playing the Here's the Theory cluster lately is whenever I target lock somebody, some other sucker in the team kills that particular guy that I target lock that turn, and it always misses me. But yeah.
It's a good strategic ability, target lock, I think.
Here's a flip question. Do you have an action that you do not use as often as the others, or perhaps you don't like as much as the others?
It really depends on the ship, but sometimes I don't take evade tokens on the evade action on like a TIE fighter or any like agility 3 or greater ship. I think
you go with focus.
Yeah, I go with focus because I think that your chances to roll an eyeball are pretty good with those 3 dice. I think I did some back of the napkin math a long time ago and figured out that you had a good chance to get either 2 or 1 eyeballs on that. It also depends on how many like people are shooting you, etc. But evades are something I don't take a whole lot of.
Cool. Okay. Well, what about R3? What do you have to say?
That's pretty interesting.
Of course, he would take mine.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say focus. But
yeah, it was pretty insightful actually. I like the explanation of why he liked that ability.
Yeah. Well, since somebody took mine, I guess my favorite one is going to be boost. I like boost. I guess it's pretty rare, but for some reason it feels like I couldn't get exactly where I wanted to be, so I'll get that one extra move. It kind of, at least for me, it would let me kind of second guess myself a little bit. I'm not sure if I want to go 2 or 3. This gives me the boost gives me a little bit more kind of. It feels like it's got more maneuverability.
Yeah, and it changes your arc. Rather significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. The one that I'm not, I shouldn't say a super fan of. I just not very good at using it is barrel roll. I know it sounds crazy to have those two next to each other, but I'm just, since I play Rebels a lot, I don't get a ton of ships that have barrel roll just kind of natively, or at least didn't in the past, and so I never really got used to using them. And I guess the reason I don't use it that much is because of that. I always feel like I end up too close to an asteroid or too close to another ship, and then just never able to actually plan it out with a barrel roll in mind ahead of time. It tends to come as just an accident.
I've flown an A-wing and I've done a barrel roll with it. Like, just forget that it can't barrel roll, but I just expect it to. I'll do a barrel roll.
Absolutely. It seems like the one ship on the Republic's or Rebel side that should have every possible movement to me. It's like should have a boost and a barrel roll and every of K turn and all these other different turns it has.
Etc.
Yeah, it's like that's the one ship that should, but it's like it gives up the kind of super agility that a stealth has, that the Phantoms have, and it feels like it doesn't have too much to compensate for that. Although it's not as expensive, I guess.
Now, I'd say that my favorite action is probably barrel roll. I started on TIE fighters, and I like barrel roll for all different pilot skill levels. Like, I would play with a mix of like Academy pilots and Obsidian pilots and the higher level pilots, and you can do a lot with the barrel roll, whether it's using the academies to get out there and block real fast, and then get the Obsidian to kind of go behind the other scrubs after they move and kind of barrel roll out of range, or the higher ones to kind of barrel roll in a better position. A barrel roll is one of those things that I quickly, like, I understood. I grokked it. I just kind of was like, ooh.
I'm always intimidated by them, I think, is maybe my problem. Like, and I see like people that play Imperials really well, they tend to get me pretty easily with the barrel rolls, because for whatever reason I never take it into account when I'm guessing the move, thinking in my head what my opponent's going to do. It's like, oh crap, that's right, he has that stupid barrel roll. Because I don't use it enough, I never seem to think of it when I'm playing somebody.
And we played a game tonight. We did the Imperial Veterans mission tonight, but we did it with quite a few more asteroids and obstacles. And I kept wanting my TIE Defender to barrel roll to align to sling those bombs at the beacons, and I kept hitting debris fields and getting stressed. I couldn't get that barrel. I was like, grrr, this is killing me. But yeah, and I will say my least favorite, it's going to surprise people, I think, but cloaking.
What?
Yeah. I just not a fan of cloaking. I just don't approve.
This is a shock.
Yeah, this is groundbreaking news we're making here.
I know. All right. Hey, yeah, that is a good point, R3. But I still don't like cloaking. I'm telling you, it's personal.
Actually, that is a good point.
It's personal though. So, all right. So tonight, our overall topic is the news. There have been 2 news articles come out from FFG recently, since we've been doing the Here's the Turi cluster and all. The first one is titled Alliance Overhaul, and it deals with a preview of the ARC-170 expansion pack. And the next, it is called Special Ops, which, anybody can guess which vehicle?
Is that going to go over the Mandalorian fighter?
No, the Imperial gunship.
Yeah. It's the assault gunboat.
The TIE Fighter Special.
Oh, that assault gunboat. Oh, I've been waiting for that thing forever.
Matt, that one was just for you. Just Matt out there. He's on our Facebook page. He likes the Imperial gunboat. So that was just for you. I was thinking of you. All right. So overall, they did talk about some new things that were released for each of these particular ships, and I thought we can kind of go over those and talk about them. And I did ask on the Facebook page if people did want to hear. They said they did want to hear what our thoughts were in the various news bits and kind of how we'd use them in different areas, and particularly even in the Here's the Turi cluster, because one of the things I like about HotAC is that we can proxy stuff and just kind of use stuff that's out there. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about how to use this stuff in a Turi cluster. This could be interesting, though.
Right. But the first one to come out was the Alliance Overhaul for the ARC-170. Now, either of you two want to kind of just go over its stats really quick?
Yeah, sure. I'll just take a quick look at the stats. So the ARC-170 base stats are a 2 attack, which is a front and rear arcs, 1 agility, 6 hull, and 3 shields. And then on top of that, you're always going to have the Alliance Overhaul card, which gives you, when you're attacking out of the front arc, you can add, I think, 1 focus result. And when you're attacking out of the rear arc, you can turn 1 focus result into a critical hit result. Is that right? Yeah, thank you, Arthur.
Yeah, thanks, Arthur.
So that is a ship. There's no generics, and the cheapest one is actually, I think, revealed in this this latest preview, and that's Braylon Stram, and he's pilot skill 3, and he's 25 points.
Yes, actually, R3 is right. He did come from a Star Wars Insider episodes 149 and 150 from a short story that was in those 2 particular episodes. And he's from Blade Squadron. That's who Braylon Stram is. I don't know anything about it. I've not read any of those, but he is from Blade Squadron.
Apparently, he knows.
Yes, he's probably got it on database. Do you have it on database, J-Bot?
Yeah, of course. It's just, focused on other things right now. Like,
okay, all right.
People happy.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, you just relax, J-Bot. So Braylon Stram's ability is that after you execute a maneuver, you can roll an attack die, and on a hit or a crit, you can remove 1 stress.
I do like that. He's like the better version of Porkins.
Yeah.
Oh, that's harsh. That's a low blow right there. Porkins.
I love Porkins.
We saw what Porkins could do tonight. I mean, he's a terror.
He did. Porkins saved the universe tonight. We played a game with the Imperial Vets one, and I had Porkins, and he cleaned up. He was ripping people apart. It was great.
Nice. So this guy is it's interesting. It's different from Porkins in that it's tied to when you perform a maneuver. I think Porkins' ability you can just trigger whenever you get a stress token, right?
Yeah, Porkins has a chance to hurt him. This one doesn't look like it has a chance to actually do damage to the ship.
Yeah, that's the other difference.
Porkins will automatically remove the stress, but he has a 3 out of 8% chance to cause damage to himself.
Right.
Well, here, Braylon will remove the stress on any move on a 50% chance. So one thing that's kind of cool is if he is double stressed, he can actually do a maneuver, like a green maneuver, clear the stress, and then roll the die and clear 2 stress a turn.
Yeah. And I think he would clear that stress in time for his action. It's interesting. I don't know. This ability, I don't know exactly how much you're going to really need it, though.
Well, we don't dial.
How often do we think we're going to use that?
Really? Well, R3A2, as you know, R3A2 would work, which is a cousin of R3 here. But R3A2, where you cause a stress to give someone stress, that's a pretty nice one. Pretty nice person to actually use it on. Braylon.
Yeah.
And we don't know about any K turns.
Yeah, without any, I guess, PTL, it doesn't have an option for push the limit or anything like that. Well, push the limit is, I'm sorry, for the EPT, it doesn't have push the limit or anything like that you can put on the ship. So it does seem a little limited.
There is one. You could use R2D6, which is the EPT bot.
Mm-hmm.
And then push the limit with that. I mean, it's a 1-point increase, but it's still a pretty nice ship to actually put it on.
Yeah, I'd still hate to give up the option of a crew and a droid on any of these ships for just to ultimately get pushed the limit on it. It feels like overworking it, but that's just my side of it.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think he's PS3. You know, he's not going to be any crazy, amazing, ace. I think he can do, I don't think the ARC-170's got a great dial. We don't know if it can take K-turn or anything, but, I still think it'd be cool to, like, do a K-turn. Ooh, you happen to clear your stress.
Right.
And still get your action.
Yeah, there's some things that they kind of give away in this. So we know it has a 4K turn. As an example, it looks like it has a 3K turn.
Oh, yeah. It does that in the preview.
Yeah,
if the preview can be trusted,
right? Yeah, if it can be trusted, I guess. But
yeah,
maybe they're still working on that stuff. So my guess is those are probably its upper limit moves. Would be like a 4K turn, a 3K turn, and like a 4 straight maybe. That's white, and then everything else is kind of white. I doubt it has any sharp turns, ones sort of thing. Just kind of feels like a generic dial type of ship to me.
Yeah, and you can also go over things like debris fields and pick up the stress.
Right.
I mean, you won't clear it immediately because it's, or it's after he executes a maneuver, or you can roll the die. So he could actually go over the debris field, get the stress, then clear the stress.
Yeah, no, you could totally do that.
Yeah. So, I don't think he is going to win worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but he's a cheap ship. I mean, at 25 points, you get a lot of kind of bang for your buck for 25 points. I mean, the title's a given, and you're always going to take the title.
Free given.
Yeah, and 0 points it's a given. It's not as expensive as some of the other ships that we've seen. I feel like they're more powerful with the auxiliary arcs and things. So I'm interested to see. I'm actually really interested for this ship because it feels like it's got some interesting dynamics you can put on it, like what is it? The bombs and things like that you can sneak on there with by adjusting some of the crews and things.
Yeah.
So. And 3 shield and 6 hull is pretty beefy.
Yeah, that's also true.
It's more maneuverable than a fire spray. So it's got just by the size of the base. I mean, it's more maneuverable than a fire spray with the same.
Right.
parts.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. R3. Yeah, we should move on to the next one. So the next one is Thane Kyrell, who is from the Lost Stars novel, one of the new canon ones. And I'll say I actually listened to this one with my son, who just turned 11, and we finished it maybe a few weeks ago, and it was one of the better Star Wars novels, the new ones that I've read. Actually, I think a lot of the new ones are better than some of the old ones. But it was kind of a two kids meet on the planet of Jelocan, and they grow up learning how to fly together, and their dreams to join the academy because they meet Tarkin when they're really young, and they end up both going to the highest academy in Coruscant, and they're both amazing flyers. Though Thane is the top flyer for his academy class, and the other lady whose name escapes me at the moment ends up going command track, and Thane ends up leaving the Imperium. He sees the horrors of the Empire, and he joins the rebellion. And so this is him. And one thing I admit, he's PS4, and if he's top of his class in the academy, the highest academy in the Empire, he's PS4.
You would imagine he'd have a little better pilot skill.
Yeah, it does sound like that just from your kind of short description, that it feels like he should probably be a little bit better or higher on the list, unless the academies are just that bad.
Well, R3, that is a good point, that it's possible that his pilot skills lowered because the ARC-170 is a hard-to-fly ship. That is a decent thought, but...
like he would know about piloting a ship.
Yeah, I still would say, I don't know, I would still expect him to have a higher pilot skill, so I was a bit surprised by that. But if anyone hasn't read Lost Stars, I recommend it. It's the same author who wrote the new one about Leia in the political right before
Bloodline.
Episode 7.
That's Bloodline, I think.
Yes, I hear it's like a primer for what actually the heck is going on in Episode 7. So I do want to read that one, or listen to it. But So, J-Bot, what's his ability? Do you have that in front of you?
The Thane?
Yeah.
After an enemy ship inside your firing arc range 1 to 3 attacks another friendly ship, you may perform a free action, which sounds neat to me, but he only has 2 actions he can do. Focus and a target lock.
Right.
I mean, I guess you could put cards on him that might give him another action, but it still doesn't seem quite as powerful as it
that
sounds.
That might be tough because the only cards that he could get action, he doesn't have a pilot talent slot. That's where most of the action-headed cards are, I think. I can't think of any crew cards that have an action header. Can you?
Oh, there's a ton. There's
Saboteur.
Saboteur is one. Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, Lando.
Lando could actually be quite good on him.
Right. Actually, Saboteur someone recommended, because one of the things about Saboteur, which is you do an action, and then there's a face down damage card on the enemy ship, and you roll a die, and a hit or crit, it gets flipped up into a crit, which is really terrible for just a general thing to do instead of modifying your dice. But if you get a free action for it,
if you're getting all these free actions, it may not be that bad.
And
it does make me wonder if it considers it like just your front arc, because it just says inside your firing arc.
No, it's either.
So it is either. It is front or auxiliary.
Yes, it's firing arc, and auxiliary arcs are a firing arc. One thing that I will say, even just with this guy, I think he's one that is better not in the tournament meta, because to me, the tournament meta right now is like 3 ship lists.
Yeah.
And so if you've got 3 ships and they've got 3 ships, the chances of you having a ship, in the arc and blah, 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 getting the abilities is not that high. So you either have to tailor your list against it, or he's going to rock an alternative methods like 200 points or epic or something like that, where he's going to get his free action. But I was thinking R2-D6 can once again give him an EPT. And the one that I thought, if he was in, like, say, Epic, or if you tailored a list specifically, if you gave him Squad Leader, you give your action to another person.
Yeah, but I think they have to be lower pilot skill than you.
Yes, but
that is a restriction, but
imagine 1 or 2 Z-95 headhunters with like concussion missiles and guidance.
Yeah. But you would only be able to do that once, though.
Yeah, with that low pilot skill, though, it does give him the opportunity to target lock or focus one or the other and still have his shot left in the turn.
Yeah, I was going to say that he might be a good torpedo boat because he's going to be able to pick up a target lock when he knows after everyone else has moved. So if you have a torpedo on him, somebody shoots a friendly ship, you get your free action, you know what's in your ARC. So it's, there's no guesswork there. But that could be a bit finicky to pull off reliably. So.
And wait, one question. You said about squad leader, you can only do it once. Are we sure on that?
Well, you can only do any action. It's an action. So it's just like how you can't barrel roll twice.
I have to look at that. So I guess
I'm quite sure. Yeah.
Yeah, the one action per turn. I guess you can't duplicate that.
Action, action. Choose one. Yeah. All right. Yes, you can do it once, but I think if you did it with something, if you plan like a Z-95, and one thing is if you had Biggs in front of you, you know they had to shoot at Biggs. You can plan for with Biggs that you can use squad leader and zap out like a target lock or some such.
Yeah, it's an interesting ship. It's an interesting ability.
R3 does have a point with if there is another upgrade that they talked about called vector thrusters, a modification that is a 2-point modification, small ship only. This ship gains the barrel roll icon.
Yeah, that could be quite nice on him. Well, actually, so because an enemy ship already has to be inside your firing arc for this ability to trigger, right?
But
he only works when he has somebody in his firing arc. That's the only time when his ability works. So you could arc dodge. You could arc dodge a little bit, but you may also be losing your shot. Yeah. I mean,
I agree with R3 that basically you could do the barrel roll as your action to make sure that you've got someone that's in your firing arc. And then when somebody else gets shot, you take your bonus action.
But
yeah, it's I don't really think he'll ever do that. I mean,
because he has a low pilot skill, that's going to be less useful. I mean,
exactly.
In the meta game, that I don't buy it completely, but in a more casual situation, certainly.
Yeah, I'm going to bow to the co-pilot's things here. I mean, R3's probably never flown a ship, period, let alone something as complex as these ARC-170s.
I think R3 actually flew his own ship here. He flew here in the back of an X-Wing. He flew at Endor.
I didn't know they could fly.
Sure.
I thought they just kind of sat like hood ornaments in the back there.
No. I've seen R2s take off on their own. Yeah. But I do think that Thane Kyrell is someone who you would need to have, someone else or some other way to really kind of boost his action capability with other modifications, crew or astromechs. But I do think you would even do better in a wider, higher point game.
Yeah, I think the more ships on the table, the happier he is, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how he'd be against swarm style stuff. He's basically always going to get somebody in the ARC.
Yeah, he would love that.
Yeah. Oh, I should also. I'm sorry. What?
I was going to say free action for days. For days. Yeah.
We should also just kind of quickly just mention the other two that was already released. Shara Bay, who is from the comic Shattered Empire. And was also, I think, in the Princess Leia one. She she's PS6. Her ability is when another friendly ship at range 1 or 2 is attacking, it may treat your blue target lock tokens as its own. And personally, I think putting Weapons Engineer to give her 2 target locks on 2 different ships is fantastic. And then somebody else can go ahead and grab it. But the other pilot basically is Nora Wexley, who is Poe Dameron's mother. No, wait, I'm sorry. Shara Bey is Poe Dameron's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nora Wexley is
Snap Wexley.
mother. Yeah, of Snap, who is in one of the novels and who's also in episode 7. She flew the Y-wing into the second Death Star and helped pull off the pilots, enemy TIE fighters away from Lando, so he can go Lando and Wedge blow it up. But she's pilot skill 7. Shara and Nora both have EPTs. But Nora is, when attacking or defending, you may spend a target lock you have on an enemy ship to add 1 eyeball result to your roll. So I like that, because if you use the 2 of them together, you have the ability to say, like, Nora does let's say even like Nora does a focus and then gets that and changes her, you add an eyeball result. So you basically, let's say she's at range 1, she's got the title, so she's getting 4 red dice. So then she gets an eyeball. She, because she grabs a target lock from Shara Bey, and then she uses focus, and now she's got like 5 dice.
Yeah,
4 dice plus 1 hit.
Well, yeah, 4 dice plus a guaranteed eyeball. Yeah, it could be quite nice.
Is this someone you take the recon agent on, or recon specialist, I should say, that gives you the 2 focuses, so for sure every turn you're going to have one of those?
You could do that.
Because I guess between her and Shara working together as kind of a pair with Weapons Engineer on Shara, you've got a pretty good shot every turn of getting that second focus or that extra focus.
Another person maybe wouldn't be Shara, but what if you went with a Segi, who is the K-Wing pilot?
Yeah, that would be nice.
That you can, like, you give him recon specialist, and basically your focus tokens can be used by other friendly ships in 1 or 2. So basically,
work with the Hawk too.
Yeah, Nora uses her, uses her own target lock, and then grabs one from a focus from a Segi and turns it into a hit. I also thought of another combo is they have torpedo slots. So if Nora actually fires a proton torpedo, and let's say you've got guidance chip or whatever, and let's say you don't roll any eyeballs.
But you normally have to spend your target lock to shoot that.
But if you're with Shara Bey, or you've got the astromech where you can keep the target lock?
I think it's R5K6, but I think it's after the attack.
So you need Shara Bey. So you basically, or you give her Deadeye, one of the 2.
Deadeye, yeah.
And so basically, you fire the proton torpedo, but you get a target lock, from either Shara or some other possible, I don't know. You could have Kraken, some other way. You get the extra target lock, and you spend it to get an eyeball result, which auto turns into a critical with a proton torpedo.
Yeah, you would need to have Shara Bey in the same squad. I think that's the only way you can use essentially have 2 target locks on the same ship.
Or Deadeye, or something like that.
Yeah, Deadeye would also be all right.
Yeah, but her mix with Kyle on the Hawk, where just Kyle feeding focuses really to everybody. She would never, assuming you keep them relatively close, but 1 to 3 is a pretty big range bracket
you'd have to have Deadeye, because you have to spend a target lock to fire it. So you either need to have like 2 people target, like you need to have Shara who target locks as well, then you take her target lock, whatever. But you could conceivably get 4 dice and a critical thrown in.
Yeah, I think that the nice thing about this ability is that it's a flexible use of a target lock token. So if you've got 2 blank results and no focus token, you can just spend your target lock on those 2 blanks and you'll probably get a hit. If you've got a focus and a target lock, and you roll dice and you get 2 eyeballs and a blank, then you can spend the target lock and spend the focus and have an automatic 3 hits. And the other element of flexibility here is that you can also use this ability when you're defending. That's something that we were kind of overlooking so far. You can, when attacking or defending, you can spend the target lock
that's
to add an eyeball result, and that's nice. That's quite nice.
Yeah, as much as this pains me to bring up, there's also the fact that the R3 could use the focus, the extra focus given to give it an evade if it's not needed. Don't like to really go into that detail.
So basically, let's say you roll and you get like all hits, but you've got your target lock. Boom, spend your target lock, you get an extra eyeball. Well, you can't modify anymore, but hey, R3's there. R3 can give you an evade.
Right. His R3's ability is once per round while attacking, you can cancel 1 eyeball result to gain an evade token, which is an interesting ability, but I think it's going to be pretty hard to use effectively.
R3 has gotten a lot of flack on the forums. It's part of the reason why I wanted to get him on the show to defend himself.
What does he have to say for himself?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so I'd say,
he's
pretty good points.
There are better droids out there. I mean, come on. We know it. The internet knows it. The tournament players know it. There are better droids out there than the R3. He has his uses every once in a while. But, better droids.
I have to say that I actually flew R3 tonight on a number of ships because I wanted to try R3 out because I had a thought. And so I had this thought while I was thinking about the new stuff. And I was like, oh, this is going to be perfect to talk about on the podcast. And someone today released a blog article and posted on Reddit and FFG and a bunch of stuff that completely used the exact same stuff I was thinking about. Like, all right, even did the math for me. But basically, for me, X-Wings have 2 actions. You can focus or barrel roll. And focus or target lock. And it's the age-old question: do you focus or do you target lock? And I've had new players like they're learning the game. Like, oh, what do I do? Which one's better? I'm like, and I'll say, well, target lock lasted to next turn. You should really try to target lock. And then they roll nothing but eyeballs. And they pick up their dice and they roll it. They roll nothing but eyeballs and blanks. And I'm like, well. Okay, you should have focused. And then the next time I bump into someone and they're like, what should I do? And I say, oh, you should focus because I told someone target lock last time and it backfired. So they focus and they roll nothing but blanks. And it's just like, I give up and try to tell anyone.
It's that tough choice. I've basically chosen target lock over everything else, but if my dice are going bad like they did tonight, it's focus. I'm going focus on everything. So for like the first half dozen shots I did tonight, look at all those focuses as focus eye, whatever. And that's all I needed was that one token and I could have obliterated people, but instead I just re-rolled and got more focus as foci, whatever.
But of course, like when you actually, are attacking and you have a target lock on that ship, statistically, having a focus token and having a target lock token should, net you in the end. If you do it 1,000 times with each, it should net you the same amount of hits and crits. The difference being that you can pick up crits from a target lock.
And also, target locks, if you don't use them, stick around for the next turn, and focuses can be used for defense as well, but don't stick around. So there's those variances there. But what I was thinking is what if you take R3 and you just target lock every round? So that basically, let's say you roll 3 or 4 dice, and you miss on 2. You get like eyeball and a blank. You pick up the dice and you roll them again. You've got a 50% chance of getting a hit or a crit. But then you've got, 25% chance you'll get an eyeball, and a 20% chance you'll get a blank on each of those dice. And if you target lock and then you have R2, you basically have to re-roll the dice. You basically have a 33% chance of getting an eyeball result. And if you get that eyeball result, usually on a target lock, it's a blank. Same thing as blank. It doesn't matter. But now you can actually spend that and get an evade token.
Yeah, the nice thing about R3 is essentially if you have an eyeball result at the end of your attack that is going to be worthless to you, you can spend it and get an evade result, get something out of it. It's not going to happen every time, and it may not be useful every time, though. So the thing about this is that this ability triggers while you're attacking. So if you're attacking after the last ship that can attack you has attacked you, so if there's no more ships attacking you, your evade token is not going to be worth anything.
Right, so it's really only good on higher PS ships. Now,
yeah,
I
would say so. Yeah,
I'll say that we kind of we had 3 people show up tonight at the same time, and we decided to play a 3-way game, and we decided to go each one take the same one faction, and I wanted Rebels because I wanted to try R3, and I wanted to each get 100 points, and we did a twist where we actually threw on 20 asteroids and debris on the table.
So just madness.
Yeah, and did a 3-way. And then J-Bot showed up right as about where we were going to start. So he made a list. So he had a 4-way free-for-all, with 20 asteroids and debris at the table. And it was very fun. But I took I took what I think is the best pilot to have R3, and I took Luke Skywalker. Because Luke gets the built-in one free focus result on every defensive roll. But you never really want to take a focus with him, so you want to take a target lock. And so with Luke, I think it's perfect. I took him in integrated astromech, so that basically he target locks every turn, and then he re-rolls his dice, and if he gets that focus that second time, boom, he takes an evade. And he always gets his free 1 mini focus kind of result.
Yep, and his high pilot skill.
Yeah, he's high pilot skill, and I gave him adaptability just to keep the points down. I took 2 Red Squadron, I gave R3, and I took a rookie, which I gave just an R2 unit. And I will say that there were times that, and when I played the Imperial Vet one, I took Porkins with R3, and there were times that I didn't even re-roll. I took the eyeball and said, you know what, this is gonna be a rough round. I'm gonna need that that evade, and I rolled an evade, an eyeball, and I said, I'm just going to bank this right now. Boom. It's going to be, an evade token. And then I re-rolled some of them. And there are other times that I did re-roll it. I was like, ooh, I got an eyeball and a blank. I'm going to re-roll both of them. I'm going to get shot this turn, but I'm going to try it. Boom, and it panned out. I got a hit and then an eyeball. And it wasn't every turn, but it was actually pretty potent enough that those evades saved Luke's life a couple times.
Yeah, and those evades are nice, especially on Agility 2 and Agility 1 ships, because they don't naturally roll a whole lot of evade. They don't have a lot of dice to work with in the first place. They can really extend their life if they're getting evade tokens.
Yeah.
The way that I was thinking about using R3 in a list is on Horton Psalm, who's the pilot skill 8 Y-wing pilot with no EPT. And the build for that is Horton Psalm with R3 astromech, BTLA 4 title, twin laser turret for some punch, and maybe vectored retro thrusters.
Vectored thrusters, yeah.
Vectored thrusters, yeah. So we can do like a slow roll type approach and keep a lot of enemies in his front arc in a long range for maybe 1 or 2 turns. And the nice thing about Horton is that he has those good the hallmarks of a good combo with R3. He's got pilot skill 8, and he likes evades. Also, his ability is to reroll any blank results when you're attacking at range 2 to 3. So you're not going to be making use of your of all your focus results with Horton anyway, especially if you're going to do slow rolling. But at the same time, you're always going to have dice modification from that re-rolling. So he should have, decent attack power. I should be able to reliably get this evade token. Maybe not super reliably, but a good amount of the time he'll be able to get this evade token, and won't suffer too badly on the loss of attack power.
I also think Wedge might be good. Wedge gets shot at a lot because he's pretty darn offensively oriented. He can crush people, and
Biggs is good with it too. I mean, any kind of survivability for Biggs is good. So it's kind of a surprising twist instead of a, I guess, R2D2.
But Biggs is mid pilot skill, so that does cut into the efficiency there.
But I did find it was funny because when I was playing tonight, and it came down to like Luke against 3 other guys, because one coward castled in the corner and let the 3 of us batter each other out, and he kind of rolled in. But it was just Luke left against 3 of them. But
they really all picked on me for a while. That's unfortunately.
But my opponent was trying desperately not to let Luke get a shot at anyone because he didn't want me to get that evade. He had 2 guys trying to come up behind me, and one mist hunter that was trying to run and hide, and I kept getting shots, and I kept flipping that to an evade, and it was really aggravating him, and it helped save Luke's life. But so I thought that was interesting. But Wedge, Wedge kind of reduces your green dice, so he might not need to change his dice as much, or if he does the whole target lock option because he's trying to go offensive as possible, he's going to be one to actually, then I rolled an evade, or I rolled an eyeball, I could turn that into evade, and I freaking need it because people are going to try to take me down.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, it's kind of finicky to get this ability to trigger reliably. I think that's going to put a lot of people off it.
I think it is great for Heroes of the Turi Cluster, though.
Because
there are times you're going to get hit. There are times when you're shooting first, and that you're facing a whole bunch of TIE fighters, and that you're the one that's going to be targeted. And just getting that extra evade, like sacrificing the firepower, with a 1 eyeball, or maybe you bumped, or maybe whatever. But if you can get that shot and get that eyeball, and get that evade token, that it just might save your bacon.
Right. We should probably move on to the other upgrades, though.
True. Sorry. I like R3 Astromech, and I think it's been adding some good input to the show as well, too. So
yeah, probably just give him a medal.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
It's actually not a bad idea.
That was joking. Couldn't y'all tell sarcasm?
No, it was a good idea. Even so. So the other upgrades in this pack are the Tail Gunner crew card, which is limited in 2 points, and that reads. Let's see. What is that? So when attacking from your rear-facing auxiliary firing arc, reduce the defender's agility by 1. This is pretty cool. Limited, so you can't stack this multiple times. Although I can't think of any ship that has a rear-facing auxiliary firing arc with more than 1 crew slot. I think it's just a fire spray in this ship, right?
Oh, R3. Yeah, it is. It's the ARC-170 and the fire spray. Yes, I was thinking the YV-66, but that's not a rear-facing.
Yeah, those are some front-facing. I don't know.
There is the question about the Shadowcaster because it has mobile firing arcs, and is that?
I think that's only 1 crew. I could be mistaken.
Well, I guess you're right on that. But we don't even know if mobile is.
I don't even know if mobile would count for this. It's a good question.
Right, but overall,
it is a great card, though.
Yeah, a lot of people have been calling it the fire spray fix, but it does work on the ARC-170 because and one thing that with the ARC-170 and with also the Special Forces TIE Fighter, with the Special Forces you get the double attack, and with this one, but you can actually choose to do just the rear attack. You don't have to do it's not like for the Special Forces you need to have the front one to activate the back one.
No, you can fire from the Special Forces TIE Fighter through the rear arc. You just can't do both attacks unless you take the weaker front attack.
But and also with the ARC-170, you can use the rear arcs as your one main attack, and I think people can forget that. So, and that's another time, say with Nora Wexley, where you get the free eyeball, then you're firing from the rear arc, and the eyeball gives you the turn one eyeball to a critical. I do like with the fire spray, with tail gunner, that it can really rejuvenate a fire spray. Particularly, let's say, Boba Fett firing from the rear arc.
Cath, definitely.
Scum Cath.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Scum Cath.
Scum Cath, because it's a bonus die, then a reduction in the enemy. But even, let's say you're in range 1, the Boba Fett, and he gets rerolls for each ship at range 1. So he's firing out the rear arc. He's getting enough rerolls out the wazoo. And he's also reducing your green die. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
Yeah. Cath and her booty is definitely happy about tail gunner.
Yeah, I definitely like the tail gunner card. It's going to be interesting to see how that's used on other ships. I mean, was the Houndstooth have a crew slot on it as well? Because
but it's got 3 crew. With this.
But it's got no.
It does have
it has an auxiliary arc.
It has auxiliary arcs out to 180 though.
But it's not rear facing.
That's a key.
It actually says rear facing auxiliary arc. Yeah, but so overall, that is the ARC-170, and R3 is right. We should probably move to the
right.
It's called the TIE Fighter /SF, but I think it's just easier to call it the Special Forces TIE Fighter.
TIE SF.
Yeah.
So let's just review the stats real fast here. So it has 2 attack, and this is also a ship with a front-facing arc and a rear-facing arc. Has 2 agility, 3 hull, and 3 shields. It's got the basic upgrades that it'll have is a sensor upgrade, a system upgrade, a missile upgrade, and a tech slot upgrade. And it's got 3 actions. It's got focus, target lock, and barrel roll. So no evade. That's one thing to point out. TIE Fighter with no evade. That's pretty unusual.
There's a few, but
yeah.
And some people were complaining. Well, it should. It's not really what I thought it'd be. And somebody else, I can't recall who, but it's one of the regulars in the FFG forums, basically said, hey, look, the Special Forces TIE Fighter is not, it's a Special Forces, it can kick your butt better TIE Fighter. It is a Special Forces, put it on missions, loaded with extra stuff TIE Fighter. So it's not, it's more agile, more maneuverable, more overpowering, but it's the, hey, we've got a missile slot, we've got a system slot, we've got a rear firing arc, we've got all these things to do missions, on special missions, to do crazy different things.
Right.
Yeah, but with 3 hull, 3 shield, it's pretty stout too. I mean, for a TIE Fighter, it's going to stick into the fight a little bit longer.
And I heard people call it fragile. They were complaining that the Special Forces TIE Fighter was fragile. I'm like, 3 hull, 3 shield, 2 agility. That's not fragile.
I think maybe if they were thinking in terms of how much hull it has for the points.
Well, and then their argument was, the TIE Bomber's called fragile, and it's got the same number of hits. And I was like, the TIE Bomber's called a crit magnet, not fragile. And there's a difference because it's got no shield, and this is actually, half of the hits are actually crits, which negates the whole crit magnet argument. So I just didn't even understand what people were saying, that this was a fragile ship. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think if you like, say you make a list out of these things and you put like 3, maybe 4 on the board, it's not a whole lot of hull backed up by agility. You can put out more if you're going with like TIE fighters. It's sort of weird to call like a TIE fighter a beefy ship or a bulky ship. It's not necessarily
an efficient ship,
but yeah, it's very defense efficient because it has high agility and it has a lot of hull for its points, right? An Academy TIE has 3 hull for 12 points. Quick Draw, the PS9 Special Forces TIE Fighter has 6 hull with 3 agility backing it up. So,
and we still don't know what its dial will be if it's got a similar dial.
Actually,
to
no, we do
regular
know.
size.
We do know what its dial. They released the dial.
Oh, of course they did.
And
that was actually really interesting.
Yeah, and that was one thing people complained about. I'm like, really? People are complaining about this? But it's got all the Speed 1 maneuvers. So Speed 1, for like forward and bank, are green, but then the hard turn is red, which is a little odd. I get that, but it's got all 3 of them.
It's like the B-Wing. B-Wing
which
has
is
the
pretty
same.
good. And then it's got all the Speed 2 maneuvers. So like, hard turn and bank are white, and straight is green. And then it's got 3. It's got the 2 banks and straight. Straight's green. And it's got the hard turn 3 is red, but it's also got the 3-speed S loop. Sloop.
Right. I think this is
red.
I think the easiest dial to compare this to would be a B-Wing dial. So B-Wings,
white.
Yeah. So B-Wings have the hard 1 turn, also red. B-Wings have red 3 banks, and no 3 turns, which is worse. And B-Wings also have a 4 red straight, a red 4 straight. So B-Wing dial is slightly worse than this, I would say.
People are saying, "Oh, there's no way to relieve stress if you can get this," and I always think that they're probably too obsessed with push the limit. But
they've just been flying TIE interceptors with two turns that are green. It's spoiled for a stress relief.
There's
really.
Also, if you take the TIE Mark II engine modification, all your banks turn to green.
Right, so that'll give you 2 banks and 3 banks green.
Yeah, which significantly increases the number of green on the ship.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like this collision detector might actually help me use the barrel roll more often if I could stick that onto other ships, but I didn't look too closely if I could. Yeah, so I could stick that onto some of my crappy ships. And it might be able to actually barrel roll instead of, always getting stuck beside things.
But J-Bot, it is a 0-point card, and I know you hate them.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It does feel like all those things are just fixes, but I won't go into it. I mean, let's fix the game with more zeros.
But if we go into the 0-point system slot collision detector, when performing a boost, barrel roll, or decloak, your ship and template can overlap obstacles. When rolling for damage on obstacles, ignore critical hits. So basically, I think the big thing a lot of people said is decloak. You can go space 2. You can actually go over, asteroids and debris fields.
Right.
So that actually, could work pretty well for a TIE Phantom.
Yeah.
I don't think they need help.
And if you go over a debris field as a TIE Phantom and you have a green maneuver plotted in your dial, then you essentially don't have any negative consequences for moving over that debris field at all, because you're going to ignore any crit results rolled, right? And because that's also something that collision detector does. And then after you're done with your decloak and you get your stress, you go on to do your green move and you shed that stress. So there's no negative consequence at all for going over that debris field.
It's one, if you've got an empty system slot, you definitely want to put this in. But there are actually some ships that probably could actually use it.
I think it's going to be difficult to use effectively, but it is also 0 points. So
I think it's one of those, if you don't have the points for everything else, clever people can find a way to actually... It's one of those things that might even be able to win them a game in some weird fluke.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have a list with, free sensor slot, with open sensor slots and you're full up on points, give your guys collision detectors and take debris fields as your obstacles. Yeah,
it does seem limited in scope. I mean, even the example that they give you in the article is like the smallest possible asteroid that I believe is existing in the game, and they're going over the smallest part of that asteroid because the one template is so small. With the decloak, I could see it because of the 2 move does give you some pretty good distance. You can get across most of the big asteroids with it, but
the nice thing is that it lets you do this kind of maneuver at all, right? So it does open up your repositioning quite a bit in an asteroid field. And there's plenty of times where you would rather take that asteroid roll and maybe get a damage as opposed to being in someone's range 1 sights when they have like a focus token and a target lock. You could save yourself a lot of grief by just barrel rolling out of their arc over an asteroid.
Yeah. Even just one more side note about the ship being fragile, because R3 brought up something before that basically, if you use the special ops training, which can give you an extra die out the front firing arc, then this ship is almost identical as a TIE Defender pre-titles, pre-Imperial Vets. And so the one thing people said that about the TIE Defender, which was 3333, was that it was too expensive for what you got. So here you've got everything's the same except for the defensive die is a 2, but you've got 3 off the front. We have the free title 2, 3, 3, but it's a lot cheaper than the TIE Defender. And one thing everyone complained about before was the TIE Defender, for what you're getting, was too expensive. And here you've got a ship that's very similar, and it's a lot cheaper, and I don't understand if people consider it fragile. But, all right. So that I'll quit bitching about that.
Is the only pilot they've shown us is the pilot skill 9, or is there another one?
We have a lot of pilots.
Oh, really? I don't
so we have the generic pilot, pilot skill 3, Zeta Specialist. Oh no, is that generic? No, it's not. No, it's not generic.
The Zeta Specialist is generic.
Let me see.
Yeah, I think when I made some show notes, I might have copied and pasted. And,
that's
and left some stuff from the ARC-170.
But I see. They're all hidden in the article. So, they're not as clean as the ones.
Yeah,
for the
Zeta
ARC-170.
Zeta Specialist is generic. Pilot skill 3 costs 23 points. No elite pilot talent slot. And that's it for him.
But 23 points is pretty nice.
23 points is not a bad price, considering that he has the Special Forces title, right?
Yep.
That you have to always take into account for these. So let's compare him to a pilot skill 4 X-wing, right? A T-65 X-wing. He's definitely better in just terms of efficiency, because he's losing 1 pilot skill, but that range doesn't usually matter too much. He has a better attack capacity because not only does he have the rear arc, he can do things like fire out of both the front and the rear arc.
Yep.
In 1 turn. He has a better action bar, better upgrade bar, and he has an extra shield on top of that.
I think with the Special Forces TIE Fighter, this is another example of a ship that will do better in non-tournament games, because the article talks about, oh, it's better instead of having 3 dice out the front, you're getting 2 and 2. That's 4 dice. That's more dice. But a lot of people were saying how much will that actually happen when you've got most lists are 3 ships. How often are you actually going to get a ship in your front and your rear arc in a tournament game? But when you've got 150 points, 200 points, or even a 300-point epic game, you're going to have ships in your front and your rear arc.
Yeah, it could be very efficient in a nice epics game for a ball, and also for a lot of missions that require you to attack, like a stationary target or any number of things. Having that extra firing arc could be really handy.
Yeah, and I think that this is one ship that perhaps won't see its best use in tournament gameplay, but I think will be awesome in other formats, and I'm okay with that. Yeah,
it's also something that we never really discuss in the normal version of the game is the density of your firepower on the game board. So in a game like let's take us out of our frame of reference for 1 second here. So in a game like for example StarCraft, you guys play StarCraft at all? Ever play StarCraft?
I've seen it a long time ago. Yeah.
Okay, so say you have a Marine, and your Marine is has an attack value of 10 or something. He's a really powerful Marine. Marines are like this little space Marine. He's got a machine gun.
Right, yeah.
It's nothing out of the ordinary in terms of sci-fi games, right? So say you have that guy, and say I have a bunch of units that I have a bunch of Marines that have never been upgraded and have an attack power of 1. If you have 10 of your really good Marines, and I have 100 of my really bad Marines, or 1,000 of my really bad Marines, you are going to be a lot more efficient in a battle than I am, because all of your firepower is in your front row. So at any given moment in a battle between my army and your army, all of your firepower is being brought to bear, and a very small percentage of my firepower is being brought to bear.
Right.
And in order to win those battles in StarCraft, you have to be able to maximize the damage output of your army at any given moment. So if we go back into the frame reference of X-Wing, we can look at a ship like the TIE Fighter and say that its damage output per amount of area on the board is pretty small, because it only has 2 attack dice for its small ship base. We can also say that the attack output of even a large ship with a powerful attack is also pretty bad if you're looking at attack output per board space. So if you look at a Dash Rendar with a heavy laser cannon, he's got a 4 dice attack, but he's taking up the space of 4 small ships essentially.
Right. Yeah. Easier to hit too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But more importantly, you can bring in the same space on the table, you can bring to bear, for example, 4 B-wings with heavy laser cannons. So this isn't normally a problem in a small game, but in a large game, like a big epic game, where each side can have a huge amount of points in their list, if you can engage the enemy, a small portion of the enemy's list, with all of your list's firepower at once, then you've put yourself at a huge advantage.
And that's the whole strength of BBZ, or 4 Bs and a Z.
Yeah, that's part of the strength of the list. Is just, well, I mean, that's sort of. I mean, that in that case, this doesn't really matter so much for like a 100-point battle, because typically the whole list is engaging at any given time. It's only in the first pass that portions of the list are engaging, maybe. Very often it's an all or nothing type deal. Whereas if like you're in the context of an epic game, there may be back rows of your list that don't engage for the first 2 rounds of battle, and you could be at a severe disadvantage if the enemy has like 8 B-wings with heavy laser cannons and has them in like a formation that's only 2 ships deep, and you brought 30 TIE fighters in a formation that's 5 ships deep. You're essentially feeding your TIE fighters into the enemy piecemeal. Well, the enemy's fleet has its full attack power being brought to bear every round, where only a portion of yours is. Anyway, that's more important for epic games. So that kind of ties into the Special Forces TIE fighter has a pretty decent attack density per ship base, as opposed to like a TIE fighter, which only has 2 attack for its small ship base.
Yeah, and that ability to essentially get 2 shots out of both sides increases the ability to always have a shot. I think what you're getting at is that this ship, even if you miss I guess calculate just a little bit, will still have a shot. Whereas if you do that with just your standard TIE, he could be completely out for that one turn, and that's a dangerous proposition especially with Imperial fighters that can go out really quick. And you might only get that one chance or second chance to make your damage known before it's off the map. And I get where you're going. It's an important thing to keep in mind. I think the ship's good. I really do, and I'm interested to see what people will dream up to add to this thing to make it surprisingly powerful.
Yeah. Oh, R3's right. We actually haven't talked about one of the latest pilots, the new ones, besides Zeta Specialist.
What the hell does he know about those things?
Well,
he's a Republic guy. What would he know about Imperial?
He might have some information. Backdraft. And so Backdraft apparently is a him, while the other one
Quick Draw is a female.
Yes, so Quick Draws are her.
Okay,
female.
So why do all of the Imperial pilots have like call signs, like these crazy call signs, Goose and Maverick and all that other stuff, and the Rebels just go by their names? Like, what's the deal here? Are we getting at they're nameless? It's just that's just the name of the ship is Quick Draw, and they just stuff a random guy into it.
The Imperials don't have as many named characters in the books.
Keep getting blasted out of
comic books,
the space.
No one's in a hurry to create Imperial pilot characters in the novels and the comic books.
And it's like the Red Baron. The Red Baron. No one called him Baron von Richthofen. He was the Red Baron. He
had a unique ship. These guys all are flying, Honda Accords, for crying out loud, and can't tell them apart. Maybe they don't deserve names; they're just license plates.
No, they've got unique paint jobs and stuff, and so you could see that when you've got such an ace, they get a particular name, like, oh, I recognize that one. That's Backdraft. Oh no, but
hey, we're getting closer and closer to just naming them after action films.
That's right. I actually thought of that movie when I saw it this time. Like,
So
Die
Hard, Demolition Man.
I tried to
Die Hard. That would be a great name for a serious. It would be.
I need to start coming up with all these for all of mine.
Yeah, go look through like all the '80s action films, and you can start using.
Oh my God! It's Commando. Watch out for Commando.
I let him go.
Go ahead. It's going to go to the Arnold Schwarzenegger library and start naming all of my TIE fighter pilots.
It wouldn't R3. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I already.
So Backdraft's ability is when he's attacking a ship inside his auxiliary firing arc, he can add a critical hit result. Just straight up add it.
Boom.
Really,
that sounds incredible.
Really nice ability.
Advanced targeting computer.
Yeah. The other thing that I thought of, in addition to what is Kevin Bacon movie Backdraft? Is Kevin Bacon in Backdraft?
Quicksilver.
Is it?
I have no. I thought that was like Kurt Russell or somebody, wasn't it?
Could be. I think maybe they're both in it. Oh my god. So 80s. All right.
7 degrees.
So the other thing that I thought of is maybe he just has gas, And that's what the other pilots are making fun of him for.
Oh, that's horrible.
It's this joke call sign.
It's not a backdraft.
Oh
It's
my
Predator.
god.
I told you to call me Predator.
Oh, that's funny.
All these names are great. I'm totally going to start doing this. And start sending in ideas. Can we add that to the custom card league? Just custom pilot names?
Yeah. So Quicksilver. So just think of all the Kevin Bacon movies. So Quicksilver, that was one. And
Tremor.
Yeah, Tremors. Yeah, they call me Trimmer.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty well.
What's the new guy's name? Death Wish.
Fine. Meet Sergeant Footloose.
Footloose. Yeah, this will be. Yeah, like I said, I feel like they're running out of ideas.
I'm fine with them making up call signs. So
No, I get it, but it does start to feel a little bit like, what are you calling yourself? We're going to start getting numbers on the end of their names at some point, like it's an MMO somewhere.
No.
Or it's like it's
Rocky IV. Oh my God, it's Rocky IV.
It's like Talladega Nights. It's like, I got a new name. I'm Magic Man. Because now you see me, now you know it's right. Yeah, that's a terrible name. I just think you're jealous. You're right. That's a great name.
That's horrible. Why do they keep calling you Thunder? Because he always comes after lightning.
Yeah. Oh, well, there is one more upgrade that we actually haven't mentioned yet, and it's a tech upgrade. And it is sensor cluster. And yes, R3, yes, it is 2 points, a tech upgrade. When defending, you may spend a focus to change one of your blank results to an evade result.
Yeah, the only thing that upsets me about that, and R3 obviously didn't mention this, is the fact that all the old ships don't have this ability to add it to their bar. I was kind of hoping there'd be a modification somewhere in there that added the sensor, the tech slot, to the bar, because there's so many older ships that could benefit from this that they seem to make sense. Like, why don't I have a tech upgrade for some of these older ships that are kind of cutting edge, I guess is the word.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be definitely using this as a way to differentiate the newer generations of ships from the old ones. So, T-70, TIE FO, TIE SF all have tech upgrades, but none of the earlier ships do.
Well, I think that sometimes with the new stuff there is improvements. I mean, look at R3; he's definitely got improvements over some of the older mechs as well.
His logic circuits are actually really good.
There are
Jim, I think
classics. You can't beat the classics. I don't care about this fancy.
I mean, they're okay, but
and it's cool paint jobs. The classics. I mean, come on.
Actually,
there's some things that you just can't replace. I mean, there's a reason that the Clear Coke failed people, because it wasn't as good as the classics. And some of us are classics.
But R3. I think R3 has been really, really helpful in this podcast.
He has, and you know what? I think we should make him a permanent member.
I think we should make him a permanent member. Jim, what do you think? Do you think we should bring him onto the crew?
Actually, this actually was like a test run.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, this is a trial episode.
He promised that he was going to show me his X-Wing that he flew in here on, and he was going to show me how he did that. And I'm, I hopefully, hey, R3, now's a good time. We could let these guys pilot the ship.
Yeah, that sounds like a good bonding experience for
and you can go show me how this X-Wing of yours flies.
Yeah, maybe you could show you how to pilot it, J-Bot.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
Actually, I like you guys getting bonding, because he's really not so bad. I think you've been a little hard on him.
This is about bonding.
Yeah, why don't you guys go into the aft and go find his X-Wing?
Yep, this will be cool. I can't wait.
Yeah, so both these expansion packs are pretty exciting. I think bringing more auxiliary arc ships into the game in general is kind of going to be a good thing, because I think it's going to cut down on the power of these repositioning ships that have taken over X-Wing. And I think it's going to maybe cut into that metagame a little bit.
Yes, because I think right now Arc Dodgers are just too powerful. PS9, push the limit, blah, 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 barrel roll focus, boost. It's a little much.
Yeah, I would say the only danger is that maybe the arc attacks aren't going to be powerful enough to, punch through like a tokened up Sunter Fell. Hey, did you hear something? Is that plasma fire?
I heard something, but it could be those Ewoks acting up again, or the
Yeah, it's probably just an Ewok party. Yeah.
Guys, oh my god. There's a huge bad accident back there. R3 was going to show me how the weapon system on the thing worked, and apparently there was a mistake in clear and not clear. And
what are you trying to tell us, J-Bot?
I don't know that we're going to see R3 again.
What? How? I mean,
well, you should. We had a bond, and
did you lose a limb? What's wrong?
Is he going to be okay?
I don't know. Maybe Jake could fix him. I don't know.
Oh,
it looks
Jake's
bad though.
It
looks really bad. You know what? I'll just take care of it. I don't want you guys to see him that way, and I don't think it would be good for your morale long term if y'all saw him that way. So I'll take care of it.
Oh my god, this is a horrible tragedy.
I hope he's okay. I was going to invite him onto the crew. I've been really bonding with him. Like, we've been trying out with Porkins and a bunch of these other missions we've been running together, and he's been really insightful and helpful.
This is awful. This is an awful way to end the show.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go on. I mean, this is terrible news.
It's okay. He's not in pain anymore.
Oh my god.
Guys, I think this is it. I think we can end it here. I'm really broken up by this.
I'm too torn up to go on. I need to spend some time with my Ewoks.
We just need to end this transmission. Everybody, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to end so abruptly, but I can't carry on. This is bad
it's just
news.
Too much.
It's a sad day in the Shuttle Tydirium.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. I'm sorry you had to hear this. We'll catch you next week. I'm sorry, guys.
All right.
I don't know if I did overplay that too much.
No, I think it was great.
That's gonna be
The part where you go back and then just shoot him a couple more times. That's
I thought it needed that. Just a couple of.